Hello, Whatnuts. It is Tuesday, May 14th in the United States. I should also shout out the Humpty Dump Nuts and the John Denver Nuts out there as well. It's What Chaos presented by Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Use promo code WhatChaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That man to my left is named Peter Budai. Over there is Sean Simpson, and I am Brave Dave Brumby. Hi, boys.
Hello. How are we?
Sean looks perplexed by the theme of the nicknames today.
A little bit.
Goaltenders.
Backup goaltenders.
Oh, that's very, very fitting.
And
great theme choice.
A little disrespectful of Peter Budai, but we know what you were, buddy.
What did you call me again? What did you say?
Sean Simpson.
He
was, I want to say he played in like the 70s or something.
Hell yeah.
I was rifling through backup goaltenders. There's a website called
Is his
NHL
name,
Backups.
like, actually
No way.
Sean, or did you just do random last names?
No. If I was doing random last names, I would have come up with something better than Simpson.
Fair enough.
No, Sean Simpson. Let's
Is it
find
the correct Sean spelling?
So David Brumby played for the Minnesota Wild in 2000. Sean Simpson played for the Washington Capitals in 1988.
Huge Caps guy, as we know.
I'll tell you what, Sean Simpson looks like a cool guy because he was wearing a Capitals jersey in 1988. So that's cool. It's the red fucking get up with the...
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And he was a hockey player in the 80s. Looked fantastic.
Chat saying Dan Blackburn, but Dan Blackburn wasn't a backup goaltender until he was.
No.
And that would have been in the first name theme.
True. You could... you'd suck as a Dan. No, you wouldn't suck as a Dan. I could see you doing Dan.
You saying I'm boring?
What other names do you think you could pull off?
I was supposed to be named... what was I supposed to be named? I forget, but I think it's Jason.
You do have
Jason energy.
You do have some Jason energy. I like not having a real name. I think that's fitting. I want to be off the map. I don't want anybody to fucking put their finger on it.
I have two names, and both of them are names that are commonly misspelled. My first name is actually Eric.
Yeah.
That's always misspelled, and then Sean's always misspelled.
Wait, how was your Eric spelled?
With a K, with a CK, with a... I knew a A-R-I.
Well, those people are just assholes.
Well,
There
no,
is a default spelling for Eric.
E-R-I-K, I feel like, is common. It's common enough that people will ask how to spell it.
E-R-I-K is common in our world because we're hockey people.
Yeah.
Fair.
True.
But
I feel like it's common enough that people will ask.
Eric with a
mark?
C is default.
If I met somebody named Eric and I asked them, how do you spell that? I wouldn't be offended if they were offended. Like if they wrinkled their nose and they were like, how do you spell that? It's E-R-I-C.
I don't know. If someone asks me like my name and they're like with a C, I appreciate that they took the time to make sure that they got it right.
Damn. Hey, Sean, do you know what a pirate's favorite letter is?
R.
No, it's the C. Boom! Fuck you, Sean.
You're not even
Roasted
both
you,
work.
liberal.
Absolutely throttled.
Oh my
mean-
God, Sean's fucking losing it. Oh God, I'm so sorry.
The next 55 minutes of the show is just going to be Sean scrambling to get his life back on track.
The
Oh,
last
that's-
5 minutes have been chaos for me.
That's true. You've had a tough first 5 minutes of the
But
show.
I think the long intro was nice because people got to really appreciate the saxophone.
So I liked that when I saw that something was a little off there, I was like, I will always take more of that intro being
Yeah, I
played.
figured it
It's
was-
incredible.
Not the worst mistake that has been made in the past week on the show.
That's John Titterington, that's Dan Bailey, and Tony Barba. Fantastic musicians making just the fucking theme song of a lifetime.
Hell yeah.
Did we ever discuss that we had to change it though? Because
I think we did in the early stages because we had an initial version of our theme song, and then the season started and we were watching ESPN's broadcast, and somehow ESPN's broadcast used basically a carbon copy.
it was stunning, shocking. ESPN tweaked their NHL theme to be exactly what we were going to make ours. Great. We had to like go back to these professional musicians and be like, hey, are you comfortable with this? Does this sound too? And they were like, "Fuck no!" Like,
Yeah.
don't. That we will change it. God damn it! And these were sports fans, so we would have all, and we're fucking hockey fans. We all would have known. Anyway, the big news today, and the reason why I introduced these fine gentlemen as backup goaltenders is because the Edmonton Oilers have made a change in goal. According to the great Frank Saravalli, the Edmonton Oilers are benching Stu Skinner, he of a .793 save percentage in the second round against the Canucks. And for game 4, it will be Calvin Pickard between the pipes. I ran a poll yesterday saying, all right, Oil people, what are we doing in net? And it was fucking stunning.
That was after you ducked the question yourself.
Yeah, because I didn't have a full answer. I think, did I end up saying I'm going Pickard? I ended up begrudgingly saying going Pickard. And the poll kind of backed up my cowardice because it was almost a 33 split between Stu Skinner, Calvin Pickard, and Jack Campbell. And
Fuck you, Jack Campbell.
Respect.
fuck,
Respect
what did he
to the
know?
33.
What did the fucking...
I voted for Jack Campbell.
Respect to the 33% that voted for Jack Campbell,
I
because
did.
that's like may as well just see what kind of shit happens.
I mean, the most, where the fuck did that guy come from player of the 3, very odd to say, would be Jack Campbell. Like, the most, like, playoff hockey of the 3 would be Jack Campbell. Like, that fucking
Yeah.
guy that was left for dead, and now they're turning, they haven't played since November.
He's your counter to Arturs Shilovs, the guy who's played in the AHL like all season.
Might as well go with your third string guy.
Fight fire with fire.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We're going to have, by the way, Meghan Angley of DNVR, who is fantastic on the Colorado Avalanche, to join us to discuss the Stars being up 3-1 in that series, and of course, Valeri Nichushkin being suspended for at least 6 months. But we're going to spend a couple minutes out of the gate on the Oilers and their goaltending change. How did you, would you have gone?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I just think you can't trust Stu Skinner at this point, and you only need fine, average goaltending. And Calvin Pickard has been very good in relief this year. Sean, if you want to throw up the stats for Calvin Pickard, like he's gotten a decent amount of work this year, more than like almost any time in his career. The only time in his career where he's played more games than this season is the 2014,
Calvin Pickard has not
2015,
been
2016.
Calvin Pickard has not been an NHL regular since the 2016-2017 season. Now,
with the Colorado Avalanche, who
Yes.
were designed to be bad that year.
as Megan is waiting, and we'll get to her in just a couple minutes, but as Megan is waiting, she's probably hearing Calvin Pickard, 2016-2017. That was Jared Bednar's first year. That was the year that the Avalanche finished last in the NHL. A little bit of trivia for you. The Avalanche wound up with the 4th overall pick in that year's draft and
Cale
fucking
Makar.
reached like crazy. Who did they take?
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar, who was not projected. He was like the 9th or 10th North American skater in the draft that year. They went crazy off the board there. I was rifling through mock drafts. The earliest I saw anybody taking Cale Makar was 8th overall. Sean, want to guess who had the 8th overall pick that year?
No, I do not.
I'm guessing it would be the Buffalo Sabres.
Man, we crushed Sean today.
I'm guessing it would be the Buffalo Sabres.
Didn't mean so. It all comes full circle though. That
Is that Casey Middlestat?
they ended up getting Casey Middlestat, which Good behavior.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah.
You got Bo Byram now.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Hell
Casey-
yeah. You ended up getting your defenseman. It all worked out.
And
Yeah,
like full
same
circle
as-
in Casey Middlesatt now with Colorado Avalanche.
But yeah, true. Calvin Pickard ends up being the reason why, and some savvy drafting, why Cale Makar, who has no points the last 3 games.
Mhm.
Very quiet. This is his first time going this quiet since, I think, February, that he's had no points in 3 straight games. But overall, we're going to talk more Oilers in a minute. I support the move. As you said, they need average goaltending. If they had below average goaltending in this series, they'd be fine. But
yeah, they just didn't have
Stu has been-
historically bad goaltending.
Stu has been terrible. So I support the move. Let's bring in Meghan Angley from DNVR Sports. We've wanted to have her on for a long time. And Meghan, we were discussing it yesterday. It would be great if it were under better circumstances, but nice team you got there. Down 3-1 to the Stars, and your leading scorer, Valeri Nichushkin, suspended for 6 months. So I guess we'll just start with what was yesterday like for you?
It was an emotional gut punch, but I can only imagine how that felt for the team, because it felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath them, and it was shades of the Seattle series again. And not just because Valeri Nichushkin leaving is exactly what happened in the Seattle series, but it felt like circumstances just kept stacking atop one another in an insurmountable way. Like, of course, Devon Toews is also out due to mystery illness, alongside the news of Valeri Nichushkin being suspended for 6 months. The complexion of their top 6 completely changes just a couple hours before puck drop in what is an important game for the Avs in their home arena, and it, of course, produces the result that we all saw. So it was really difficult from a news standpoint, to be delivering just bad news after bad news. Even with Jonathan Drouin drawing back into the lineup, it was a really difficult day.
How difficult is it to cover like the Nichushkin thing? Because obviously this is the second year in a row. It's a sensitive issue, but like, I mean, I saw quotes coming out from, I forget who said it in the locker room, but it was
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson was like, he made his decision, and it's like clearly that he's letting those guys down, and you can kind of feel it.
You can absolutely feel it, because coming into training camp this year, it was McKinnon and Makar who did an availability at the start. And that was something I asked Makar about, was how Valeri Nichushkin earns their trust back after the Seattle series. And both McKinnon and Makar had great answers for this. And it was essentially, who Valeri Nichushkin is as a teammate is incredibly hardworking. And when he shows up the way that they know that he can, that's how he builds back trust. So for the work that he had put in throughout the course of this season, and obviously it doesn't go off without a hitch. He enters the player assistance program around January in the season. So I think players are wise to the fact that he's still struggling with something, but it's still difficult to see him, I don't even want to say make poor choices, because it is ultimately down to his decision making, but he is also struggling with something that I don't want to pretend to know about. And so his teammates have conflicted responses, but they ultimately do feel let down. And that's why you see a range of reactions, some that strike a tone that is a little bit more sympathetic. Like, I think Jonathan Drouin's tone, a little bit more sympathetic. Cale Makar's tone, a little bit more sympathetic. But Jack Johnson, Andrew Cogliano, veteran players, they see this play out and they recognize that the playoffs, it's an important time, and they have a teammate who's let them down, and they can only focus on the 20 plus players who are in that room. I think it's understandable for people to feel a little let down, because this has been a really challenging series, and it's not a new struggle for Valeri Nichushkin. And I think that is maybe what's not going to sit well for a lot of people, that he didn't lean on the support system that he has when he needed it, and fell back into bad habits.
Okay,
and I'm sure like the older guys too, like they probably realize that there is an expiring clock for them, and that this may be one of their last runs. So to have it kind of be derailed, I would imagine that's why some of those guys might be a little bit more emotionally charged. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, and just to reset it in case we didn't do a good enough job of setting it up. So Nichushkin failed a drug test, entered into stage 3 of the NHLPA Player Assistance Program, which, if you've listened to this show, mixed opinions from players on how that does. But to Pete's point, Pete and I were basically going to make the same point, where obviously, I hope that we're all sympathetic to people with substance abuse issues and drug problems, whatever it may be. However, there is a thing where you should also understand the unreliability aspect of it. They're like, if players are frustrated that they're in a situation where a teammate is unreliable, I don't think they're necessarily saying, and Jack Johnson sounded like he was saying, fuck that guy, basically. But like, I think that a lot of players are probably just frustrated with having an unreliable teammate. Doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that the circumstances that make them unreliable don't deserve sympathy. It seems, though, Meghan, that is a room full of players who are frustrated with this happening time and again.
Well, and the part that we have to consider is they have more knowing of the situation than anybody else. And so the sense that I get is, even looking back in January, Val Nichushkin enters the player assistance program voluntarily. But voluntarily can mean that the team came to him and said, Val, you have a problem, you need to get this in check. And it was, there's the possibility that it's not so much that Val took ownership of his struggles and came to the team and said, I'd like to get help, I don't have a handle on this, versus the team catching him in a bad way and saying, Val, you still don't have a handle on this, you need to get it together. And I think having that kind of inner knowing about what levels of this Val Nichushkin has taken ownership of versus not maybe adds to the layer of frustration that players might feel. That was the sense that I got in the Seattle series in the room too, that there was disappointment, because I think there's that knowing that Val has known that this is something he's struggling with and has not been getting help when it's been offered to him. And it reached a boiling point in the regular season where he was nudged into seeking the help that he needed because there was no other choice.
How surprising was this? Because like on one hand, this is not a new issue, but on the other hand, he's leading the playoffs in goal scoring with 9. Like, what was your sense being around the team? Like, how surprised was the group? How surprised was the media and all that?
That's where it feels like the rug was pulled out from underneath you, because you look at what a huge role he had in the Winnipeg series, and as media, we have such a limited view of the team that I can honestly say there wasn't anything that made me feel weird about Val Nichushkin throughout this point, that he might have been struggling with something behind the scenes. So I know I'm extremely shocked, but hearing Jared Bednar talk about it in the presser and learning about the drug test after morning skate, you could see that the team looked shell-shocked. And I think the first period of the Dallas game reflected a team that just took a huge emotional gut punch. I think that everybody was a little bit surprised by this news, including his teammates.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, like that was one of the more dominant periods of the entire playoffs that I've seen. Like the Avs got steamrolled,
and this is a series where every game has started with the Avs getting steamrolled.
And we've also watched every Bruins game first period this playoff run. So to say that like that was the most lopsided period I think we've seen this playoffs says a lot. I mean, what's the temperature in Colorado right now around the Avs? Have people basically given up and said that this is over at this point?
Yes, and I have to make a note about the Avs fan base. They've been very spoiled with a competitive team in a cup window for a little bit now, and they dealt with their share of second-round exits that were extremely disappointing. They finally get the cup after those difficult exits, and now they have this new dragon to slay in a Game 7 in Pete DeBoer. So I think that the attitude, though, is they hold the Avs to such a high standard because you look at this core, and it's really hard to watch this series kind of waste away the way that it has, because it feels like we just haven't seen the best of Colorado Avalanche hockey, especially being teased with such great hockey in the Winnipeg series. And I think that's what separates this from the feeling of the Seattle series last year in the first round, is the Avs fan base was spoiled with really impressive hockey in the Winnipeg series, and then given this hope of, and imagine when Jonathan Drouin comes back, how great and competitive this team will be. So I think that pendulum swings both ways for Avs fans quite harshly, and it's just because they've been given such a good product to root for that it's really challenging to see them at these low points. And I want to give credit to Avs fans. They went through those dark days like you were just talking about with Calvin Pickard in the 2016-2017 season. Like, they did their time. So I am sympathetic to Avs fans who feel really down on the team But the sense in the room is very different from the fan base. It's definitely down, but you can really see the veteran leadership in that room take over in these moments. They're able to say things like, I have confidence that we're going to get this back. Hate to do it in this fashion. Like, we recognize we're on the brink of elimination, but we've been in a position like this before. And I think that's the secret ingredient for the Avs right now, is having been in difficult positions before. I think that they have more mental strength than we're giving them credit for, but I also understand why Avs fans are pretty down right now.
Is there a way back into the series for them? Because through 1, 2, 3 games, I was like, man, I don't think the Avalanche are coming back in this series, and I definitely don't think they're coming back from down 3-1. But if they could just get a 1-goal lead, score the first goal, 2-goal lead or whatever, like, we could at least see a slightly different game be played instead of them chasing it. Do you see any way for them back in this series, or are the Stars just not losing 3 games in a row to anybody?
The Stars are great. So their way back in is a very challenging one, but I still believe it exists. Part of it is having played from behind the entirety of this series. Something that Colorado has challenged Dallas with is playing a strong defensive game. Dallas has been forced to do as much, and they've deployed all of their lineup relatively evenly throughout the course of this series. And that's why I think, even looking back at game one, there's a lot of Dallas Stars star players that are off the score sheet, but it is because they are trying to focus on load management and stifling Colorado Stars. And they've done a great job of this. Obviously, Nathan MacKinnon has been contained throughout this series, but that is also not totally sustainable for an entire series. If Colorado gets a lead early and they're not chasing a game, they can meet a tired Dallas Stars team by the third period. I think the difference for them has been trailing in these games, because I think they could have Dallas more or less where they want them late in games if they got the lead early. The other thing is, I think Alexander Georgiev's performance in net has quietly elevated game after game. And I know that's a weird thing to say after a 5-1 loss, but I think that from the mental perspective, which was always a concern with Georgiev, he stayed even-keeled and has given them chances to stay in games. If you get the same version of Georgiev or better, I think that's part of the path back to the series. And the final component is the top guys remembering who they are. Because so much in this series, I feel as though Colorado has been playing to counter Dallas's strengths and not focusing enough on their own. And I'd like to see them, without getting too risky with it, lean back into who they are as a team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fucking wild place to be, but I agree. Like, Georgiev's been really good, and the problem for Colorado has been, like, the one area where they edge Dallas, in my mind, is top flight talent, like a McKinnon, Makar, Rantanen, and all 3 of those guys have been pretty quiet during this series, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if there were a fan vote for Conn Smythe right now, Georgiev is probably going to win it, I would say. It's a
Just
joke
like
about NHL. It's always going to go there. But I'm glad you brought up Georgiev, because I really like the piece that you wrote late in the regular season saying, hey, like, I hope this guy has a good support system. And obviously we talk about Nichushkin, and his issues are different, of course. But, like, what did you see from Georgiev as the season went on that compelled you to write that?
It's the sense that I get. He is a very reserved player. Like, obviously you see the passion on ice, but the way that he conducts himself in the locker room, it feels very withdrawn and reserved. But I've also watched teammates, dap him up after great games, or just interrupt his interviews playfully. Like, I have seen the camaraderie that he has with his teammates, but I just feel like I've seen it more with other goaltenders, like Pavel Francouz. Just, you could tell, was so tight with his group. And Justus Annunen coming in and being a part of the Finnish mafia that's growing in the Colorado Avalanche locker room, like, you see the instant connection. I just had concerns that Georgiev didn't have the support in place to tune out the outside noise, because it was growing louder and he was struggling with it more. And so, it wasn't anything I looked at the team and thought that they fell short in. I just had concerns that, what's the missing connector then? What is stopping Georgiev from being able to tune this out a little bit better? Like, he doesn't seem to have a great handle on his mental fortitude, at least in those moments, right, in the final stretch of the season. And you look back at his inaugural season in net, and it just didn't feel like these were demons that he was really battling then. So, like, I more so wanted to know what was different about this year for him and what was perhaps made more challenging. But I also don't think he doesn't have support and friends in the locker room. I just wondered if they needed to be galvanized to rally around him even more in those moments. And I saw it in the Winnipeg series, just to shout it out. Looking at the team reaction at coming out of that horrific game one, everybody rallied around Georgiev in an obvious way. And I think that made the difference in the series because there was this blind confidence, like win or lose, that is our starting goaltender. And I think that Georgiev needed that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got some pushback when we were like critical of Georgiev. I think a lot of people from Colorado like came to his defense and were like, listen, team's not playing that great in front of him. He hasn't played that great, but also it's not completely his fault. So I'm glad that he looks better. Like I'm not like rooting against the guy. So before we get you out of here, I do want to ask you this question. What are the chances in your mind that we see Gabe Landeskog before this series ends, and would it make a difference for Colorado?
I think it's 0, and I don't think it would make a difference, only because Gabriel Landeskog, not having played hockey for 2 years, entering a series is not going to look like Gabriel Landeskog for a little while. But you can tell how sorely he is missed in this series, and I'm looking forward to the possibility of him returning to play at the start of next season and then ramping up to shades of the Landeskog we once knew.
He's still not skating, right?
He is.
Or he started skating?
He's messing with us too. Like originally he had been wearing just kind of sweatsuits and coming to morning skate briefly. Now he's staying longer and he's wearing like a Power Play 1 jersey immediately after Bednar said he's not close to returning to practicing with the team. So I think that he is a warrior and he's trying his hardest to get back and having some fun with it.
All right. Well, all the best to him. I think that his teammates will be joining him briefly in skating recreationally, let's just say. But Meghan, it's great that you joined us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you down the road. That's Meghan Angley of DNVR. Great in podcast form, written form. Again, the Georgiev thing she wrote late in the season, I think really colored the conversation that we had about him.
I think you took it to heart.
What's that?
I think you took it to heart.
Heart?
Heart. Yeah, like you were like, oh, like we should root for this guy.
No. It just told me like it's not just that he sucks.
He doesn't suck.
He's not great.
He's looked pretty good in this series, I'll be honest. Like
I think he's been good in the postseason. No, I took that as like, oh, okay, so this isn't just that like his struggles are actually getting to him. That's a more interesting story and it's more information. So that's that. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Tonight, got 2 big games, and we'll hit you with those in a slate grade. But I'll tell you what, both of us will be trying to 10x for each of these games. And we do that by placing whatever DFS we'd like to place, picking 4 categories, pick more, less in each category, maybe some hits, maybe some time on ice. There's a lot of good options there. And if you hit each and every one of them, well, then, folks, tell you what, you have 10x'd. But you could also play a little safer. You want to go fewer? Just 1x, 2x,
it's actually not fewer, it's less.
You know what today is, right?
Today is Tuesday, May 14th in the United States.
Do you know what it is as far as 10xing is concerned?
Your birthday.
Yes, it is.
Happy. What is it?
It's the start of the WNBA season.
Ooh.
Oh, that's right.
Caitlin
Fever
Clark's
Sun.
first regular season game.
Do they have that? They have that like special. Caitlin Clark over half point, more than half point.
Let me see what they got here. They updated their terms of use since I was last on the app. They have like everything for the WNBA. They have Caitlin Clark more than 21.5 points. They have a bunch. They have like a full WNBA slate. But Caitlin Clark is at 21.5 points tonight.
Tonight's slate is so like you guys want to hear me say the letter A. I would check out the slate grade coming up because between the games in the NHL and the Caitlin Clark debut, I'm going to have a million TVs going.
I don't know. The Bruins play tonight, so I feel like that's an automatic A-.
That's true. Bruins could get an A-. Somebody in the chat, by the way,
vibe ruiners.
Asked if we could have Bob Stauffer on the show because we've had such a good run of guests. Folks, we had Bob Stauffer on very recently. And
I
he was
know,
the
but
best.
I would assume that was a person who enjoyed Bob Stauffer on the last time. It was like, the vibes are immaculate. Let's get Bob back
I
on.
don't know. You're going to lie to defend yourself, but weigh in on whether you knew that we had Bob Stauffer on before. He was a 10X.
I'm going to guess that they did because they know that I've celebrated multiple birthdays in the last week, which means they've been around.
Interesting. Okay, well, Prize Picks is really a very good companion for watching these games. I say it's like a little puzzle. It's not just a mindless, you throw something. You got to really think. How many hits is Charlie McAvoy throwing around? Do I want more? Do I want less? It is a great, as I said, companion to watching these games.
4.5.
4.5. So I would have said it at 3.5. So I'm probably going less there. But who knows? Elimination game on the road. Maybe they're chasing it a little bit, throwing the body around. Go to prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/whatchaos and use code whatchaos. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Today's episode also brought to you by Manscaped. And you know what today is?
Sean's birthday.
Right. But also beyond that and beyond the start of the WNBA season.
Bruins game?
Don't bring that up because that ruins the vibe. What I was going to say is that it is a beautiful day.
Oh,
it's a beautiful day outside here in sunny Boston, Massachusetts.
You too could enjoy that.
It's 80 degrees. Mm-hmm. Some people might be at the beach. And if you're at the beach, you don't want to be wearing a sweater. You don't want to be wearing a sweater on your torso. You also don't want to have a penis sweater.
Is that Manscaped copy or is that from you?
I'm ad-libbing, but it's
creative liberties.
Yeah.
Well, I was
it's essentially like, don't make sure you're wearing your ultimate beach attire, which is not a lot of hair.
I'm trying to remember because I think I might go play a little basketball today. What was I think it was an Adam Sandler movie where he's playing basketball with somebody who's like sweaty.
Oh,
and
is that Chuck and Larry?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think you might be thinking of Along Came Paul.
Yeah, which is the famous
Ben
Philip
Stiller.
Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, but he's not the hairy one. Ben Stiller is playing with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Philip Seymour Hoffman isn't anything.
That's true. Ben Stiller and Philip Seymour Hoffman are playing twos against another tandem at the court, and their skins. And the guy that Ben Stiller is guarding is like just so hairy and sweaty, and you got the slow-mo shot of his face just running up a full length of the torso. So don't be that guy. Get Manscaped and start getting rid of that hair. Get rid of your torso sweater. Get rid of your pubic sweater. All that good stuff. Manscaped has the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, the ultimate all-in-one grooming kit that is set to have you looking and feeling your best in the summer sun. Trust Manscaped and unlock the confidence you need to turn heads this season. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with code WhatChaos. Let's make this summer your smoothest one yet. We love Manscaped. We got the Lawnmower 5.0. We got the Beard Edger, all the good stuff. I'm not using Beard Edgers because this thing doesn't grow hair. But DJ's got it. DJ likes it. So again, that's 20% off and free shipping with code WhatChaos at manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping with code WhatChaos at manscaped.com. The summer sun is here to stay, so trust Manscaped to keep your pubes at bay.
Can't decide. If the Oilers get out of this round, maybe I do the plain view look.
Yeah, I think especially considering that they're down now, it's a little bit of a comeback. Nice
I could do it as like a rally cap.
Oh, true.
Situation. A rally clean shaven, kind of. What did you have, Sean?
Quick bit of news, maybe, that I don't know if we saw before the show. Craig Berube's in Winnipeg.
Did see that.
They're scheduled to interview with Winnipeg today.
Honestly, if I'm Craig Berube, I mean, good for him, but I'm not taking the Winnipeg job. Craig Berube can basically have, I would assume, any job that he wants in the NHL.
What job would you have?
But if I'm Craig Berube, I'm not taking the Toronto job.
Are you taking the Devils job? You're taking the Devils
job? New Jersey.
Let somebody else figure it out in Toronto, and good for them when they do that. I don't fucking want that evil on me.
Oh, he interviewed with the Senators as well, I believe?
It's obviously a good job, but it's a good job that comes with an incredible amount of headaches. And you're taking that job without knowing what the team's going to be looking like in a couple months. So maybe not the best time to take the Toronto job, but I mean, I like respect for even going to Winnipeg and interviewing there. So before we move on, like Spike time, 3, 2, 1. Hit the like button right below the video player. That's that thumbs up button that you're looking at. Please, please, please. We would appreciate getting those likes spiked as high as they can go. And we're very, very close to 6,000 subscribers on YouTube. So please also subscribe to the channel if you're not yet. And we will love you forever. A point that I wanted to make on the Western Conference bracket is that I feel like the path has flipped on its head, because the point that I was kind of always, or the corner that I was always in, was that the winner of the Dallas-Colorado series is going to be beat to shit, and then I was presuming that Edmonton was making it out to the Western Conference final, and they were going to get a real beaten up opponent, and that would be maybe their easiest path to the Stanley Cup final. Now, like, it's looking like it's going to be a breeze for the Dallas Stars to the Western Conference final. Obviously, there's time and room for that to change, but Colorado just looks dead in the water right now. And on the other side, the Oilers and Canucks are beating the shit out of each other. And so, like, the winner of that series is going to get a well-rested Dallas Stars team, most likely, which, good fucking luck.
Yeah, I would say that I think that the path for the Stars has become easier now that they're up 3-1. That's going to be a quick series, though, and they're going to be all rested up. So I get your point there, but I'll still, like, the actual play between Colorado and Dallas is heavier and more physical than what you're seeing. There's more shit with the Oilers and the Canucks. So there's more, like, maybe you might have some, like,
the Canucks blocked like 30 shots last game. I mean, that's obviously the Canucks. They like doing that.
That's their modus operandi.
But I think that
if the Stars get the Canucks, they fucking swallow them.
Well, yeah, I agree. But I also, like, I don't think that the Avalanche have played as physical as they're capable of playing.
Yeah, I mean, that series, I don't want to say is disappointing, because obviously there's extenuating circumstances, but I thought that was going to be a real slog of a series. They were going to grind it out. It does let me take a little fucking victory lap, though, on Hurricanes Rangers. I still probably think the Rangers are going to win that series, but now it's 3-2. Wouldn't you know? Always a little closer than that 3-0 suggested. And I wasn't saying that the Hurricanes were going to come back and win the series, but I did kind of side with, I'm sounding like Colby Armstrong right now. I don't mean to do that. I just meant it as a transition. But if Rod Brind'Amour had played this wasn't a sweep card this year, it would have worked. It would have been fair. The difference in the first 3 games of the series was that the Hurricanes couldn't score on the power play. The Rangers could, and the Rangers had better goaltending.
The Rangers could also score on the Hurricanes power play, which still exists.
Another one. So I got to say, Freddie Anderson, nice move by Brind'Amour, sitting him in game 3, bringing him back. He's gotten better play from him the last 2 games. But that Jacob Trouba shorthanded goal, that was like the worst shot I've ever seen in my life. That was so fucking
Jacob
sad.
Trouba.
It was because it was Jacob Trouba on the rush, fucking shorthanded. Horrible goal to allow, but Freddie Anderson probably played his best game of the series last night.
And that's the only goal that the New York Rangers got. So
yeah,
they're certainly not the Rangers' best game. You obviously, if you're Carolina, you got to get that power play fucking figured out, man. You're being outscored on your own power play in the series. But not great.
But the Hurricanes Rangers series is shaping up to be what we thought the Stars Avalanche series would be.
Are you putting the Rangers on choke watch?
I don't know if I'm putting them on choke watch. I'm putting fucking water seeking its level watch.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So the Rangers were the better team in game 1. Games 2 and 3 were pretty even. Maybe Carolina was a little better.
I mean, when you say pretty even, you're saying it 5-on-5.
No. I'm saying all situations. I'm saying all situations, brother. 5-on-5, Hurricanes were definitely the better team the first 3 games of the series. All situations, Rangers better game 1. Games 2 and 3, it was kind of a wash. And what was holding the Hurricanes back was that they could not score on the power play. And yes, and I want to say game 2 allowed a shorthanded goal. But now, water seeking its level. I think that the series remains about as even as it had been, but the Hurricanes are fucking winning the games. Their power play, teeny bit better, still not great, They're keeping the Rangers off the power play, though, so that helps.
Yeah, like they're not taking an insane amount of penalties like they were at the beginning of the series. Yeah, and there are some encouraging signs for Carolina too, because you look at like Jordan Staal had not been going in terms of production wise. Did get on the board. You also got Evgeny Kuznetsov, who was heavily scratched in game 2, and now he scored back-to-back games. Like they need those guys going, and I don't know how sustainable it is to keep the Rangers to 1 goal per game. Like, I don't know how much I believe in Freddie Anderson. I know he had a better game, but I still think I'm heavily in the Rangers' corner, despite Water somewhat finding a level.
I'm glad that at least the series is good, though.
I agree with that.
And that, shout out to the Hurricanes. Gensel, 5 goals this series, right?
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
I know that he's had a big impact. He's been a big net front guy.
As I said it sounded wrong, but I believe their leading goal scorers this round are Gensel and Kuznetsov.
Well, Kuznetsov has what?
Kuznetsov has 2
goals,
which would be tied for second, and Aho leads in points, I want to say. But
Seth Jarvis has 3 goals and
Gensel also has 3 goals.
Gensel has 5 this postseason.
Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong series. Sorry, my bad.
Gensel has 4 this postseason.
All right, my natural stat tricking has gotten the best of me.
Gensel has 3 in the series. Natchez has 2.
Natchez and
Kuznetsov
have 2.
Yeah.
All right, so their additions at least are making a difference, which is good for them. Do you think that they force a game 6 back in? Well, I'm sorry, game 6 is back in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You think they force a game 7? Yeah. They fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, like that building is going to be fucking crazy.
And then they lose.
I'm glad it's going to Raleigh, because that building is going to be insane for game 6. You have to have a good start for game 6, because you got to get the building behind you. And I think it's much better if you've got a lead in front of Freddie Anderson rather than trying to come back and letting some doubt creep into Freddie Anderson's head. So, yeah, I'll say they win game 6 and force game 7, even if I'm just kind of rooting for that.
Let's do a slate grade. There's 2 games this evening, 7 p.m. U.S. The Bruins at the Panthers for Game 5. Florida leads that series 3-1. At 9:30 p.m. U.S., the Canucks visit the Oilers for Game 4. Vancouver leading 2-1. I'm a little inspired by what you said about the fact that the Bruins are playing should be cause for an A-, but I like a 7 and 9:30 structure. It's pretty solid. We can all get to bed at a reasonable hour, provided the Oilers and Canucks don't do some stupid shit and go into overtime. I don't think the Oilers will go into overtime. I think they win in regulation. Hashtag not worried. Hashtag Oilman. Couple this with the fact that Caitlin Clark makes her WNBA debut tonight, and I have no choice but for a second straight day to award an A to this. Sean, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm just glad that I have something to watch other than Bruins at 7.
How do you feel about your A grade yesterday, just in terms of like in hindsight? I thought yesterday was kind of lame.
The games were, if you needed to like do some paperwork,
Yeah.
respond to some emails, that last night was the time to do it.
I did a bit of like show planning, like just kind of filling out the rundown last night, because I was like, I may as well use some of this downtime because the games weren't all that exciting.
Once I saw the Nichushkin news, I was like, all right, so we're going to talk about that, and the game that we're about to watch doesn't matter. I still watched it. Shout out Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah, happy
Dog.
birthday.
Absolute dog.
Happy birthday to the 21-year-old. It is unfortunate just because one of my favorite things was remembering like every 3 weeks that Wyatt Johnston was only 20 years old.
Yep.
And now that's been ruined because time makes fools of us all.
Something that I like, they were making a big deal about him turning 21 and like drinking with his teammates. He's Canadian.
Yeah, all that
He's
shit
been
is
allowed
stupid.
to drink for 2 years at least.
I mean, not allowed. Like
No,
you don't
in Canada you can.
Yeah, but
It's
like
not good
he doesn't
behavior.
live in Canada.
I mean, he's from Toronto, so like for the last 2 years when he's been home during the summer.
Also, it's just like if you're a professional athlete,
Well, there's that, too.
or if you're a human, most of the time
Yeah.
you're drinking before you turn 21. I just, for the purposes of being like, yo, that dude is only 20, has a bit less of a punch at 21 years old, especially when
2003.
Logan Stankoven is also 21 years old. Did you know, by the way, that Stankoven and Johnston live with Joe Pavelski?
I did know that.
Yeah, because they just fucking tell you every game.
Dad. That's the most like.
They have to say
Dad.
something good about Joe Pavelski.
I know.
Do you think they come home? They get home and they're like, "Thank you, sir."
I
morning,
always
sir.
wonder like what the dynamic of that is like.
They are smoking pot in the fucking next room because Joe Pavelski is so old. They're like they're the kids whose parents are there, but they're just like so out of it, whether because they're old or in any way hindered to do anything about it.
Joe Pavelski's just locked in his room watching his programs.
No.
Joe, yeah, they're Joe. Like, there's nothing he can fucking do. Even if he can fucking catch it, he smells something, he can't
That's
get
what I
up
was
and yell
gonna
at them.
Joe Pavelski definitely knows. He's just not doing anything about it.
He fucking can't.
And
Do you
they
think?
think they think he doesn't know. It's like when I first found out that my mom knew I smoked weed, interestingly enough, was on my birthday too. And she came into my room being like, "I have a present for you." And then she just busted in the door and was like, "Stop smoking in here." And I was like,
Oh
"What
my
the
God.
fuck?" It was quite the birthday present.
Do you think Joe Pavelski feeds dinner to the kids, or the kids feed dinner to Joe Pavelski?
That is an enormous. There's no dinner table. Everybody's doing their own thing on their own time. I think that Pavelski is having he's like caretakers, whoever it may be, like deliver their meals, and they come in and they cook for him, and that's awesome.
Caretakers.
It feels like he's like still got it.
I mean, I
and
think
then the
it's
kids are getting takeout.
It's probably like Deline, Zach Benson thing, where like Pavelski probably was when he was young, irresponsible, and so now he's got these young kids, and he's like, "That McDonald's shit's not flying. I'm making you grilled chicken and broccoli."
Ooh.
Chat says they tell him it's a skunk outside and he believes them.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they have a lot of respect for Joe, so they don't do it in the house. They go.
But
and
if
take
they
it.
wanted to, they
They
could.
could, but they don't.
I always find it interesting, like when young players live with the older guys, but having two young players live in the same house as an older guy who is like a senior citizen at this point,
Yep.
and has, I would assume, Joe Pavelski has children of his own.
Well, that's what I was
Like-
gonna say.
Like, do they have like an in-law? Is there like an in-law apartment? Are they sharing their own space? Do they have their own dedicated space? Like, I wanted like a Joe Pavelski crib store.
That's what I'm more interested in, is from Joe Pavelski's perspective. Like, he's a grown ass man.
And at
And
one
he's
point,
just
like when
like-
you have kids, do you want like,
To have kids again.
or just like want as
But is
few
Joe
people in your
Pavelski-
house as possible?
Not to get personal, is Joe Pavelski an empty nester?
Well, he has a wife.
Yeah.
confirm
Why
that.
would he be an empty nester?
You know what an
think
empty
it's-
nester is?
You think that his kids are so old that they're like,
that was
they
a
have-
joke. Yeah, like it's when the kids leave the house, they've gone to college. So maybe it makes him feel young again. Have some kids in the house. We'll find out with the Stars
They
guest
have
tomorrow.
one son.
Ah.
That's all I can confirm. from
Well,
Wikipedia.
shout out the Pavelski family. Bruins will try to keep their season alive tonight in Florida. Brad Marchand traveled with the team, will not play. Boston, for sure, on their last legs. I'll say, if there's any silver lining, this is not the most over series of the current series.
Are you giving that to Colorado?
Colorado is the most dead of the four teams trailing right now. Bruins second most dead.
I disagree.
You think the
do?
Bruins are more dead than Colorado?
Colorado's
No.
a better team. Colorado's done this before. Like I
yeah,
think
but they just lost like one of their best. They just lost.
I don't even
They just
know.
lost a top six forward and like one of the most elite shutdown defensemen in the entire league. I don't know what Devon Taves' like outlook is for next game, but like the fact that if he's out for another game, they're fucking toast.
yeah, I mean,
And just vibes are so low there.
I get all of that. I just think they have the makeup of a team to come back from something like this more so than the Bruins do.
They're also playing like maybe the best team in the
Yeah,
league
man.
That's fair. I was viewing it more from the
from their
losing team perspective than I guess the
So
team.
Colorado, I would still say, is better than the Bruins at this point, even without Nichushkin, and especially with the Bruins not having Marchand.
Yeah.
But the reason I initially entertained the Bruins winning this series and facetiously picked them to win in 5 games is the Panthers are not this impenetrable fortress. They have shaky-ish goaltending. Their number one defenseman has been rocky as hell. if you can fucking get past they're scrappy and they can fuck around with you. I mean, for years and years, teams knocked the Bruins out when that was what the Bruins were, and they were that with better goaltending and better defense. So the Panthers don't fucking scare me for the earth. They're better than the Bruins, but I could see the Bruins coming back in this series, which I can't, but I could see the Bruins coming back in this series before I could see the Avalanche even winning 2 games.
I don't know, like, cause I get what you're saying, and I largely agree, but I also think that there's a large portion of you that is banking on the Bruins to not play like assholes, and they've played like assholes for like 2.5 weeks at this point. The person that I think is escaping a lot of criticism in this series is Sergei Bobrovsky, who is sub 900, but it's also like it doesn't matter because they're not putting shots on, and you can maybe forgive him a little bit because he's going like 15 minutes at a time without facing any shots, and that's kind of a nightmare for a goaltender.
Bobrovsky has 1 game this series with an .890 save percentage, and he's up 3-1. That's fucking incredible. So the shit I was saying yesterday about Montgomery, like, man, Katie was saying this yesterday on Dan Le Batard, arguing with a guy called Roy, who's a big Panthers fan.
Roy
Didn't know they were big Panthers homers. That was the best conversation I've ever seen in my life. It was awesome. They were just fucking tennis match. But like Katie was saying, I understand if it's your strategy and if it's your strategy in the regular season, but at some point when your strategy isn't working, you have to adjust and you have to change. And every other team and every other coach that prefers quality over quantity, when they get to the playoffs, they understand, you know what, this shit's a little harder to come by. Let's throw some pucks on net. The Bruins just haven't been doing that. As I said, Sergei Bobrovsky, 1 game this series with an .890 save percentage. He has 1 game where he's been pretty bad. 1 game. The rest of them, he's been fucking ass, and it hasn't mattered.
Yeah, the question of quality versus quantity is an interesting one. But when you have a goaltender who's not playing well, quantity fucking matters.
Yeah, just fucking try it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the time of season or the point of the series where you're doing desperation stuff with your lineup and you're changing guys and you're benching goalies and everything. Could you at least make your desperation thing? Let's just throw pucks on net and see what happens. Because even the good goalies, Jeremy Swayman last game allowed one from a not great angle. Mm-hmm. Fucking try it. So that's my plea for Jim Montgomery in this game.
Yeah, when you're desperate and you're going up against a bad goalie and you just like need to get guys going and need to get some momentum in your corner, just fucking shoot it from anywhere.
Can I say this? If the Bruins have 13 shots on goal in the first period tonight, they will win the game. That is my ironclad guarantee.
That's like an unrealistic expectation. At
10 shots on goal is unrealistic for them. 8 shots on goal is unrealistic for them.
What do we want to set as like the good meter for shots on goal in the first period for the Bruins?
7.5.
7.5. That's so sad, but I would tend to agree.
7.5. Double that, bitch. Get 13 shots on goal. They will be.
If the Bruins get 13 shots on goal in the first period, they're winning the Stanley Cup.
If the Bruins, I forget who I said that yesterday about something. Biz was saying like Rangers only had 20 shots on goal tonight. They got absolutely smoked, and I was like, buddy, the Bruins have 20 shots on goal in a game. They're winning this. Like they're
Bruins
sweeping.
Don't have 20 shots on goal this entire
They're
series.
never losing another game if they could regularly get 20 shots on goal. But Bruins get 13 shots on goal tonight in the first period. That would mean you are getting the worst quality shots on goal. Just if you need to fucking play stupid ass Pat Maroon the whole game, do it.
Also, like if they take shitty shots and one of them goes in, that's like the perfect scenario, because then the Panthers get to be like, Bob, what the fuck are you doing? And then maybe shit like caves in on them. Just get like one bad goal. I would love a bad goal for the Bruins. I would prefer a bad goal for the Bruins. I want a bad goal more than I want a great goal. Like David Pastrnak, like A+ highlight reel goal. Fuck no. Give me a Justin Brazeau, like off his elbow, shitty ass goal. Give me that.
All right. So what are we doing here? Because there's a lot of discourse, and the number 13 has really awoken the chat. If there's talk that the Bruins might not get 13 shots on goal in the game, if the Bruins get 13 shots on goal in the first period, what do I get from you guys? And if the Bruins don't get 13 shots on goal in the game, how many baseball games do I have to go to tomorrow?
13.
However many shots they get If it's under 13.
If
If
they
it's
don't,
under 13, then I have 1 week to go to
12
that many baseball games.
I passed like a high school on my way home every day, and there's like always baseball games. So
I like saw a baseball practice
Yeah.
over the weekend, and I was like, man, this would be a great punishment.
there's also
If they don't
always
get 13 shots in the game and they're eliminated, I think you have to fold the franchise.
If they're eliminated and they don't get 13 shots on goal in the game, you have to fire Jim Montgomery.
Yes.
Like, is he off?
100%.
Do you think he's off the hook for Firewatch? I think he's kind of back on.
No. Things would have to be really bad tonight for him to be like, he's not going to get fired realistically, but I think that you're on Jim Montgomery hot seat watch for sure heading into next season.
It's not very exciting, but I'll take it.
can't have a slow start next year.
Oh, right.
that, like,
First month.
He's
gone in
starting
October.
the season.
Yeah.
When was the last time? Well, I guess Claude. When was the last time the Bruins fired a coach mid-season? But that was like tail end of the year.
That was February.
Was it really? It was that early in the year?
It was the morning of the Patriots Super Bowl parade.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't feel like
Unbelievably bad behavior.
Man.
Yeah.
In a season where like basically every team got their coach fired mid-season.
Yeah.
Feels like a long time since that's happened to the Bruins, but I guess it's not that long.
All right, so Pete has Bruins in 7. Sean, how do you think the series ends?
I did not say that.
I thought.
I think it ends tonight.
I think it ends tonight. I'm kind of hoping for it to end tonight, but I did pick the Panthers in 6 at the outset, so like kind of a little bit rooting for tonight.
I kind of need the Bruins to take it to 7 though, because the Bruin, like me shitting on the Bruins on Twitter has been like a godsend for my personal brand.
Oh,
I've
really?
gained so many followers for my Bruins tweets over this series, and I don't know what I'm going to do or tweet about if they are eliminated and my Colorado Avalanche are eliminated. Which, by the way, we got another super chat. We need to appreciate these Katie super chats while we still get them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
get him in,
for
pal.
our financial purposes. We need the Colorado Avalanche to stay in the playoffs because Katie gives us a super chat basically every day saying "Go Abs."
But they've
so-
gotten sadder because now it's here you go, Sean. Go Avs or whatever.
"Go Abs" or whatever. That's so depressing.
I'm there with you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
I'll say
appreciate
this.
you.
I don't want to say the only way I'll be happy if the Bruins win, but if the Bruins win tonight, I need them to kick Florida's ass because that's the only way they're buying me back in.
Bruins win tonight. It's a fucking series, whether you want it or not. It's 3-2 going back to Boston.
If they win like an overtime,
You got a stew going.
If they win an overtime tonight, I don't know how good I'm gonna feel. I'm just gonna be like, these fucking assholes are just prolonging the inevitable.
Well,
if they kick Florida's ass, maybe they plan a seeded
If
out.
the Bruins win, I think we also have to go on 98.5 tomorrow. So I have mixed feelings about that. I don't know what I'm rooting for.
I was gonna ask this question about the Rangers Hurricane series, but I guess it applies here too. Like, it's a little different for the Hurricanes Rangers because it was a 3-0 lead, but like, who would you rather be in that game 7? The team that had the 3-0 lead, knowing that no teams give up 3-0 leads. Obviously, in this situation, it's 3-1. Or the team that's just come back from being down 3-0 and tie the series.
Well, I mean, on the side of the team that blew it, that's just always scared. Like the Bruins going into game 7 against the Leafs, I still thought that they were going to win. But when you fucking leave shit to a game 7, man, the worst team wins sometimes. So I'd be a little more scared if I were the Panthers because I've said since the Bruins won game 7, this is all fucking house money.
Mhm.
They're not supposed to be here. You guys are the ones that were in the Stanley Cup final last year. You guys are the ones that made that big run and we're expected to do the same again this year. Don't let us fuck up your little party here, your big day out with your friends.
And from a narrative standpoint, like the 3-1 switcheroo in
Exactly,
Uno
yeah.
reverse card from season to season would be incredible. And obviously, Florida would not be able to escape that. Chat is saying too much Bruins talk, not enough Oilers talk, which is a great segue because do want to talk some Oilers right now.
Yeah, I'm not worried. That's the latest update. Pickard, as we said, is in net. Stu Skinner sitting. I don't think we've seen the last of Stu, but I think that it is probably the right move to get Pickard in there. I'm getting shit from Canucks fans, and I'm not having a fun time with Canucks fans. Like I get now why people don't like Canucks or Oilers fans with how much they spit at each other and all that stuff. I've had such a good experience on Twitter with my little group of Oilers fans. They're all so nice. They're all so supportive. I'm getting shit about like, oh yeah, go back to your little town, blah blah. I never fucking been to Edmonton. Leave me alone. Guys are
That's gonna be so confusing for like they're Paul Maurice, and you're like, I'm from Boston, bro.
Get out of here.
I'm from Boston, man.
Getting called mophead. It's a whole fucking thing. But I'm truly still not worried. I think that the Oilers still have been the better team in this series. I think they are the better team. They are the better roster. Their goaltending has been terrible. That is a hiccup that I did not expect. So yes, I take that into consideration when I look at the rest of the series. I still look at these teams and I say the Oilers should be fine.
When I ask this question, answer it truthfully. If the Oilers lose tonight, will you say that you're worried tomorrow?
No.
I knew it.
No, I am not going to be worried. I thought about this during Game 3. I'm not going to be worried until the Oilers are trailing in an elimination game.
Man, that's crazy.
I think it is a little crazy. Like if there was a team that I was going to have that belief in, it would be the Oilers, I guess.
They fucking snap off. They could snap off 3 wins in their fucking sleep. They did that all year.
Yeah, and my thing is that like Silov, excuse me, was in the AHL for a reason. And like obviously he's played well, but like if you tell me that at some point it comes crashing down for him and the Canucks, I'm not going to be surprised by that. And like if McDavid turns it on, has a hat trick, then my opinion on the series changes completely.
I'll also say quickly, I hope that I didn't give the impression that I actually don't like Canucks fans. The ones that are calling me mophead, because I still don't know if that's a slur. I'm talking about those ones. And the ones that are making fun of my hometown, that is a place I've never been before. I think that's actually pretty cool behavior.
What?
Like next time, like you tweet like, oh, big win by the Stars. I'm going to be like, cool, go have another president assassinated.
I mean, that was my thing with the Coyotes all the time. People would be like, you lost your team. And I'd be like, I'm a Sabres fan.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The number one, thank you for couching that, because I don't want to lose Canucks fans. Like we want everybody to listen to the shows. We're trying to get subscribers, so we don't want to alienate an entire fan base. So I'll be on your side, Canucks fans, although I'm rooting for a much better series than a 3-1 deficit for the Oilers. I did want to point out one Zach Hyman been a bit of an asshole. Might be on asshole watch, which is the last thing that I expected in this series. But I guess it speaks to the toxicity between the Canucks and Oilers, because it's bringing out the worst in everyone. Zach Hyman speared.
He's been on his BS since Game 2.
Speared Nils Höglander right in the penis. Cut his penis. And then also at the end of Game 4, cross-check Nikita Zadorov. Nikita Zadorov caught a lot of heat for cross-checking Connor McDavid in the back, but Nikita Zadorov got a cross-check right in the grill from Zach Hyman and needed several stitches.
That's Zach Hyman's job this postseason, or in the postseason. You play on a line with Connor McDavid. You're the heaviest guy on that line. You're a hard player. You got to be the one that fucking stirs it up, says you can't touch my captain. It's great behavior.
Spend so much time in the asshole, you become the asshole.
That's right. He was born into it, or he...
molded by it.
Yes, he was molded by it.
I don't know, though. Like, I want Zach Hyman to be like the guy you take home to your parents.
Yeah, but I think
Mr.
I don't know.
Nice guy.
Just don't ask him how he makes his money.
If I have a daughter, I want the guy that she brings home to kick somebody's ass if they fuck with her.
That's true. I mean, like
Connor
okay. So I
McDavid is
guess
my
I
daughter in
can
this
sort of
situation.
excuse the Zadorov thing with that mindset, but spearing Nils Höglander in the penis is bad behavior.
Hey, when you live on the line, sometimes you cross it.
Yeah.
I guess. But
and also, I'm not just saying this because I forget what game I commented during. I think it was Game 2. Like, he has been on his BS this whole time. It's not like he's snapped. It's not like he's like, all right, now I'm going to be something that I'm not. I think that he probably knew going into this series, all right, they're going to go after McDavid. I got to be on fucking full, like, I got to fucking patrol this situation.
I like how Aviva said it. She said Zach Hyman's getting out of his Disney Channel star phase. Just like,
that's right.
Don't get mad at him for going up. He's just an adult now.
Yeah, he's like smoking pot.
Yeah.
On Zach Hyman, wanted to talk about this.
Wait, but before you ask that, I need to correct you. You lied earlier on the show. You said that Valeri Nichushkin leads the playoffs with 9 goals.
I thought he did. Why Johnston?
Sir.
He's co-leader.
He was tied.
Yeah.
Was tied or is tied?
We're acting like Zach Hyman don't got 9 goals.
Oh.
He scored his 10th in Game 3, but it was changed to Evan Bouchard.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, tied for the lead. Well, how many does Wyatt Johnson have at this point?
It would be, it should be like 12.
I did place a Wyatt Johnston for Conn Smythe bet this morning, which I just wanted to check on the odds, and I was surprised that the odds were so long, and as a result, placed a bet. It was like
plus 1,500, you said?
plus 1,500. Oh, chat saying it was Derek Ryan on the spear. I thought it was Zach Hyman.
Oh.
Also,
So that's an important development. Sorry, I apologize to Zach Hyman. I apologize. Speared and smeared his name.
Wyatt has 7 goals.
7 goals? Okay. So, sorry.
Those are 7 loud goals. But I still, even if we misrepresented who did the spear, I wouldn't defend the spear, but I still acknowledge Zach Hyman's been on his BS this postseason, and it is expected behavior.
Well, I mean, again, I said the bigger asshole thing there was the spear. So I will say Zach Hyman might be on asshole watch, but he's not officially an asshole.
Okay, this is a good thing to clarify. Ask your question about playoff beards.
Are playoff beards dying? Because I feel like they're no longer as prevalent or as, I guess, maybe unruly, unkempt as they once were. I feel like playoff beards are a dying art. What say you?
I say you're correct. That is a factual thing that has changed over the years. Playoff beards obviously were huge in the 80s. They got bigger and bigger and bigger. You saw Joe Thornton do them in recent years. It became a thing that even teams outside of hockey started doing. The 2013 Red Sox did playoff beards. 2005 LA Galaxy, 2010 LA Galaxy would do playoff beards, and that just became a thing. It was inspired by hockey, started with hockey. You asked what happened to them. I did a little research.
Okay.
In 2015, you know who Mark Lazarus is?
Yes, the Chicago Blackhawks writer.
No. Different Mark Lazarus.
The NBC Sports guy?
NBC Sports chairman. In 2015, famously, who held the NHL rights.
And NBC.
He lobbied to discourage playoff beards because it hindered the ability for viewers to recognize players. Per the Chicago Tribune, June 19th, 2015, NBC Sports chairman Mark Lazarus is thrilled about the growth of hockey on NBC, but he has one request to its players. Please shave during the postseason. Lazarus says he has lobbied the NHL and its players to end the tradition of playoff beards. He says the excess facial hair hurts players' recognition for fans, perhaps hindering the development of new stars during the highest-rated games of the season. Quote, the players don't like this, but I wish they would all stop growing beards in the postseason, Lazarus said. Let's get their faces out there. Let's talk about how young and attractive they are, what model citizens they are. Hockey players truly are one of a kind among professional athletes. I don't love where that's headed. I know it's a tradition and superstition, but I think the beards do hurt recognition. They have a great opportunity with more endorsements or simply more recognition with fans saying, that guy looks like the kid next door.
What the fuck is the energy behind these quotes?
I'm not loving all of these quotes. Shout out NBC.
Making assumptions.
It's my family
I'm
forever.
for sure making assumptions.
There's light assumption to watch on that.
Yeah, I hate the energy behind a lot of what's said there. And the playoff beard tradition is one of the best traditions in sports. Leave it to a fucking suit and a guy who no longer has the rights to the NHL to have a horrible idea on policing playoff beards.
I disagree too with the idea of, hey, you got to be clean shaven. I think that whatever gets people interested in somebody gets them in the door. If you say, wait, Joe Thornton, that's a crazy player. Who's that guy on the Sharks, the defense? But Brent Burns? Okay, yeah. Cool. And then you're following Brent Burns. No, I wasn't actually asking. And then you're following Brent Burns and you know who he is. And you get into the Sharks and all these things. Anything can be your gateway into hockey. If it's a silly beard, let it be a silly beard.
And like the playoff beards add to the lore of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think that helps get people into the door. I just, like, Mark Lazarus, need to know his thoughts on fucking tattoos, because I bet he has some bad opinions on tattoos. He's making a lot of assumptions and like really grading character on outward appearances.
Yeah, I would have asked them to not include the part about that guy looks like the guy next door or the boy next door.
You said you want to know his opinion on tattoos. Like, I want to know his opinion on mandatory minimum sentencing.
Yeah, right. Go a little further there.
And like he also said, like, let's show these guys how handsome they are. Like, A lot of people are more handsome with beards.
That had a whole different energy to it.
Well, yeah, but
it was Steinbrenner-esque at best.
Maybe a little, yeah.
I will say one point that he did make fairly, because there was pushback on, well, playoff beards made people stars, or people became stars when they had playoff beards in the 80s. And he noted that the great Islanders teams in the 80s are credited with starting the tradition of playoff beards, blah, blah, blah. He noted that there weren't helmets or there weren't visors. So there weren't, so like you could see the whole thing. When you have helmets and visors, so argues Lazarus, it's more difficult to add in a beard and still be able to see the face.
I don't know. So I guess the question is, like, do you think that the league and the players bought into this? Because that's giving too much credit to Mark Lazarus, maybe.
I think so. I mean, we'd have to look at playoff beards per roster, but 2015 sounds about right for when it started to go away.
This seems like there'd be a paper trail though of like, hey guys, if I'm just a player, I'm not listening to fucking.
Well, I bet there's a bunch of, you're not considering, there's probably a bunch of players who were doing it because they felt they had to.
Yeah.
And then once it was suggested, hey guys, you don't have to do playoff beards. Sweet. Fucking boss says I can't do a playoff beard.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think the pressure of doing the playoff beard maybe has been taken away.
Yeah, especially for the guys. Like I feel like there's a lot of people putting out in the chat. There's just a lot of young guys who like, I can't grow a beard. I'm turning 26 this year. I can't grow a beard
like
for my life.
a guy like Sidney Crosby was like mocked mercilessly for years because his facial
playoff
hairs.
beard. Tyler Seguin, terrible playoff beard.
Meanwhile, like, not that this really has any, but like, it's not like the playoff beard has anything to do. Like the best playoff beard right now, I'd say, is Pat Maroon.
But that's like I guess he
always has a beard.
He always has a beard, but not as maybe as bushy or as thick. And you mentioned Zach Hyman, his mustache is a little fuller. But I don't know. Like I love the tradition. I want it to stick around, and it bums me out that it seems like it's kind of dying. The reason that I noticed was Evgeny Kuznetsov, of all people, because they showed an older headshot of Kuznetsov after he scored a couple games ago. And he had a beard, and then they cut to him on the bench, and he was like very clean shaven. And I was like, damn, now that I think about it, where have the playoff beards gone? So I'd like to reintroduce some pressure to please grow a playoff beard if you can.
Another thing to consider is that playoff beards in the late noughties were used for good. In 2009, Beardathon was started to raise money for charity. And in the first 4 years, they raised a ton of money. Like it became a thing where people were doing it, the kind of like the like Movember style thing where people were growing playoff beards to raise money. So there's actual good that could come of it.
And like I think that what we should encourage is that the playoff beard doesn't necessarily have to be a beard. Like you can have a playoff mustache that just continuously grows through the playoffs. One of my favorite playoff beards in recent memory was Jaromir Jagr, who did the fucking Wolverine when he was on the Bruins.
He was also putting Just for Men in his beard, which was confusing behavior.
Oh yeah, he dyed it going into the Stanley Cup final, right?
He put Just for Men in. Yeah, it was right. Because at the media day, I asked him, did you put dye in your beard? And he said, gotta look tough, and winked at me.
Which doesn't make any sense, because I think when you dye your beard, you look less tough. And nothing's more tough than like a good grizzly beard with some gray in it.
None of the interaction made sense. But he was very much, he was very confident in his answer, so I respected it.
We got another super chat. This time from a Stars fan. I'll start donating on behalf of my Stars. Sorry, DeLoss. I mean, I guess I'll take that too.
I like that.
That's twice as much money as Katie donated to. So go Stars.
I don't hate the move of so the New England Revolution do this when one of their goalkeepers gets a clean sheet, they bring in donuts the next day. Donuts for everybody.
Yeah.
I think there's a little sponsorship thing going on too with it. Dunkin', they get gift cards. It's a whole big party. When your team wins, you don't have to necessarily give us the money, but I like the idea of celebrating a team victory with paying up. Or paying it forward. Donate to a charity. Be like, fuck yeah. Bruins forced to game 6. Here's $30. Whatever cause you care about.
I like dunking on your enemies with charity. Like when the Bills
Wait a second. Can I just point out the fact that like in this situation, we're classifying ourselves as charity.
Well,
So
I mean,
we're
I was talking
charity cases.
generically
No,
about DJ
I
was saying,
said you don't have to give it to
Yeah,
us,
DJ
but
was
find a
saying
cause and
generically.
pay it forward.
and if we happen to be that cause,
I'm cool
It
with
is
being
what
the
it
cause.
it's just like
Sean DeCause.
donating
What cause?
to teams because like they beat the team that you hate. Like when the Bills broke the streak, they donated a bunch of money. It's slightly different, but they donated a bunch of money to Andy Dalton because he broke the streak, and it's just like a.
I also
Ravens.
love when like an athlete or somebody says something stupid or like arrogant or whatever or ignorant, and the people that they criticize like turn it into good.
Yeah, like
And,
if someone
like,
says something homophobic and they're like, "Cool, we're just gonna raise a bunch of money for
in
a
your
charity
name,
now." Yeah, exactly.
that shit's the best.
That is awesome.
Did you see on that note? Did you see what Harrison Butker said?
Friend of
I
the
didn't
show,
look into
Harrison
this
Butker, no
specifically.
longer a friend of the show.
Don't classify him as
No
a
friend of
the-
ours.
Yeah, not a 200-foot player, not a real good guy. It seems.
Hey.
At a commencement speech of all things was very, very problematic. Harrison Butker.
Kickers and punters are the most replaceable people on teams. So.
There's discourse in the chat right now about donuts.
Whoa,
D
this is a
Gentleman says
crazy-
donuts fucking suck.
Ooh,
People are
whoa.
fighting about that. If it weren't for donuts, I'm not kidding. If it weren't for donuts, Chex Mix, and Oreos, when I quit drinking, I would have lost a bajillion pounds. Instead, I've gained weight because those things are so good.
Saying donuts suck is just a crazy.
Donuts are my fucking
Saying
like
donuts
truly my
suck-
anti-drug.
Saying donuts suck, I think exposes the fact that you have never had a good donut.
I think that you could
You
argue.
just don't know donut.
I think that you could argue the crazy over-the-top donuts
Yeah,
are like maybe overrated.
a Krispy Kreme glazed donut though. Who doesn't?
But
like
if you
that?
just get a fucking straight up glazed donut or a chocolate, some of the things
vanilla dip, rainbow sprinkles.
I'll go to some of the more higher end ones and be like, ooh, that's a candy apple one with the crunch and a blah blah. And you take it out and you're like, this isn't edible. This is a project. It's sticky. It's gross. But you get, man, there are certain donuts that don't take a lot of work that are fucking amazing.
Hey, can I ask this question? Are donuts like American?
No,
No?
Good
Okay.
question.
I want to
didn't know the answer.
say they are like a. Well, I want to say like the first fried food ever was kind of like a donut type thing, and I forget where it started, but I'm pretty sure. I'll do some research. I'm pretty sure it's something like Europe.
I just, regardless of whether it's factually true or not, I feel like the donut is an American staple.
Did you know that?
I
I
was
agree.
wrong.
I know that it's like an American cliche.
I was wrong. Hand up. The history of the donut itself is generally traced to Dutch immigrants in the 17th and 18th century in New York.
Oh,
Then New Netherlands.
so it's like it's split ownership,
It is
like the Dutch and Americans.
yeah. It's like I feel like a lot of foreign American food is like not actual foreign food. It's just like a blend of Americanized stuff that immigrants brought.
But it
over.
was like in America.
It sounds
its
like
beginnings?
donuts as we know them now are American, but as someone is pointing out in the chat, and like I said, I think they like fried, baked, sweet cake, like cake type things originated like way back in like Egypt, Middle East type.
Oh, I was
things.
gonna, yeah, any sort of like sweetened cake bread sort of things.
mean,
That's gonna be
marshmallows are
Middle East.
Egyptian.
That's gonna be like
Yeah.
your chud eggs and things
But
like that.
I think
Well, when I
Donuts
think
as
of
we
like
know them.
American staples, I think of like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, donuts,
all the good stuff,
cigarettes. Yeah.
all the fixins,
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean burgers. I feel like are American, and they were not. I don't
Yeah, like
think
they
invented
don't.
in
Like,
America.
you don't have to start in America to become an American
Pizza.
staple, I guess. Yeah. So
People in the chat, I saw somebody bring up that Market Baskets in-house donuts, like the ones that you get from their bakery, are amazing. I have never had one, but I have heard that from many people.
I'll tell you what, the Market Basket near my house has an incredible like butcher shop inside of it.
Love that.
Never been to
So-
a Market Basket. I do have to shout out Tim Hortons donuts, Tim Hortons apple fritters, and Tim Hortons sour cream glazed donuts.
Brother, in my
Fuck me
car,
up.
I have someone gave me a box of Tim Hortons apple fritter cereal.
What?
Yes, it's sitting in my car.
What?
I've meant to bring it in. I just got it like 2
I
days
didn't
ago.
know that existed.
I didn't know it existed either, but they were like, "Hey, saw this, thought of you," and I was like, "I am living life right." That when people see that, They think of me and then they buy it and give it to me.
Yeah, I mean that's apple fritter. Like, I grew up on Tim Hortons apple fritters. Those things go crazy.
I love apple fritters.
We have a big update.
Yeah, we have a huge update. Katie said, "Go fuck yourself, Dallas." Won't be outdone by a Stars fan. $9.99 super chat. So now,
Fuck yeah.
Damn.
Bidding war.
What do you got?
$12.
What do you got, Bruins fans?
Also, I wanted to point out someone.
Bruins fans are not giving money.
Bruins fans
towards
should
the
be
cause.
yo, dude, be pay pigs for the cause.
Yo, however many shots the Bruins have in the first period, that's what you got to super chat tomorrow if you're a Bruins fan.
Yes,
It's gonna be a bunch of $3 super chats.
Yeah.
I also
For the
want to point out
series.
OJ Gaze said that burgers were made in Hamburg, Germany. I don't know if I've ever discussed this. The town that I'm from in suburban Buffalo is Hamburg, New York, and they claim to be the inventors of hamburgers. I think it's a crock of bullshit, but they do claim.
You know what Buffalo should just stick to claiming? Cheerios.
That's the coolest thing about
That's
Buffalo.
very, very cool.
That and Jeff Con.
If I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but like if you're in Buffalo,
City
if you're
smells like
unfamiliar
Cheerios.
with Buffalo,
We've talked about it many times.
Okay.
And I'd like to do it again.
let's do it again. If you're in Buffalo, there's a good chance that you will smell Cheerios in the air because the Cheerios plant is located in Buffalo.
Yeah,
And
General
it
Mills.
just billows smoke out into the air, and it smells like Cheerios. It is the most incredible thing in the world.
Well, yeah, because
Buffalo is an underrated city.
It's the best city in America.
It's not the best city in
it's the
America,
best
but
city
it's
in
an
America.
underrated city for sure.
What's his name? Anthony Bourdain said it's like the most underrated city in America. It has its own unique architecture, unique food, best pizza in America. Obviously,
Buffalo?
Yes,
Really?
yes, and I've heard that from people who aren't from Buffalo, but I've always believed that. But yeah, it's got a General Mills plant right on the water, and so the wind blows off of the lake and just fills the city with.
Tell you what,
smells.
Buffalo is a great city.
It's
It's
awesome.
a great city.
It's so awesome.
It's got the Riverwalk. It's got like
Canal
Niagara
Side,
Falls.
Niagara Falls is not really Buffalo. It's like a 30-minute car ride, really, but still, yeah. And I mean, some of the best food in America.
The only weird thing about Buffalo is that people like don't really live in the city.
Yeah, it's no
If you-
one
if
from
you go-
Buffalo is from Buffalo.
If you go to the city in the middle of like the weekend, there might be some people
Well,
hitting the bars or like
yeah.
the breweries and stuff.
no
but,
one
like,
lives downtown.
and
Buffalo is
nobody's
much bigger than
like
downtown
people don't
Buffalo.
walk around downtown.
Not
they're,
as much.
They're just
Uh,
like inside bars.
It is
and stuff
important
like
to
that.
point out that like Buffalo, as you know it now, is built in the last 15 years. Because
Yeah.
for the longest time, they still had the old arena where the Sabres played just in the middle of downtown, and so there was like the whole waterfront was nothing.
We
And
have
that's all they're gonna do.
breaking news. The Oilers have broken up Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. McDavid and Draisaitl will center their own lines tonight per Jason Gregor. First line, Nuge, McDavid, Hyman. Second line, Holloway, Draisaitl, Kane. I guess you're at the point of the playoffs where I wouldn't consider this a desperate thing, but I know from the Canucks fans in my mentions of all you and your small town people have is just playing McDavid and Draisaitl together half the game. First of all, if they chose to do that the rest of the way, they would still fucking win this series. So they're going to be fine. And I like breaking them up anyway. Just spread it out a little more.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the big problem I think to this point in the series is that at a lot of points, if you didn't have McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice, you were losing.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get you out on this last cause that has been brought up. There's a new petition in Boston, and you heard the one say, hey, do the Dropkick Murphys song. We discussed whether that was good or bad behavior. I think we were generally out on it. The boys are back. Here is a petition that I can definitely support. Stop playing Living on a Prayer when Boston Bruins lead at the Garden. You see it is there on change.org, so you know it's official. If you see the area there is filled out, I have signed it.
I can't believe that you didn't start this. I absolutely believe that you signed it, but this sounds like it has DJ Bean's fingerprints all over it.
So I hate that the Bruins play Living on a Prayer. I think they've done it is this the third year they've been doing it? It's fucking horrible. It's so fucking Mickey Mouse.
It's got big like loser energy to it.
It's such fucking loser. It's expansion franchise energy.
It's a miracle of
I don't
God
know
that we are in lead.
I don't know
Living
if
on
it
a
has
prayer.
loser energy, but my big problem with the arena experiences now in 2024 is that they feel so fucking uniform and like standardized. If you go to an arena at anywhere in the continental United States, you're probably getting the same handful of songs played and the same handful of sing-alongs. Even the Blink-182 thing that became extremely popular during the Colorado Avalanche run over like the next couple of years, every team started playing all the small things.
I never liked that even when the Avalanche were doing it.
I liked it when the Avalanche were doing it. I thought it was cool. Like the sing-along was really cool. But then like that became the Avalanche thing in my mind. It became like the pillar of that run. And for like other teams to do it after that, it just felt kind of weird. Get your own thing.
There are teams that have good DJs. The Washington Capitals, the Dallas Stars, where when I've been in that arena, I've been like, damn, hey, they're playing the song by a popular artist, but it's like their fourth most popular song.
Yeah.
This isn't we famously back in the day got in a spat. Pete was telling a story. He was at a bar. He said he put You Make My Dreams by Hall & Oates on the jukebox. And I was like, that wasn't the coolest behavior. You could have just waited for that song to come on. And then we had a discussion about like, what songs should you be playing, and does it get gatekeepy to say, oh, these ones should be off limits? What if you just really want to hear the song? I understand that when you're at a game, you're going to hear some songs that everyone's heard before, and that they're going to play Crazy Train, and that they're going to play certain things. But a fucking Bon Jovi sing-along, it's got to be a different song. Do It's My Life. Be fucking weird. Don't do... If you're the fucking... You're an original six team, and in the second, third period, you're doing Living on a Prayer. It's so bad. But that's just my argument. That's just Pete's argument. That's not the starter of this petition's argument. Check this out. From Court Lalonde, who I do recognize from Twitter, as a longtime fan... Met him in
Vegas.
What's that?
We met him in Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, he was at the Golden Knights practice.
Oh, it was very nice to meet you, Court. As a longtime fan... No, truly, I remember this. As a longtime fan of the Boston Bruins, I've noticed an unfortunate trend. Every time Living on a Prayer is played at TD Garden when our team has the lead, their performance seems to take a hit. It's become clear that this song, rather than boosting morale or driving our team forward as intended, seems to have the opposite effect. This observation isn't just based on personal experience or superstition. In fact, there are statistics to back up this claim. According to game records over the past 5 seasons, source NHL.com, there is a noticeable dip in the Bruins' performance following the playing of Living on a Prayer. The team's win rate drops by 12% in games where this song is played while they are leading. Then goes on to say, we call upon TD Garden management to stop playing Living on a Prayer when the Bruins are taking the lead in games. Let us rally behind our team with tunes that truly energize them and help maintain their momentum through each match. Sign this petition if you agree. There is absolutely nothing to support what Court said. Could absolutely be making that up. I'll just say
that was my take.
That if their play truly does dip, and if they do allow goals when Living on a Prayer is playing, it is because the power of prayer is working on my end. I root against the
Punish
Bruins.
them.
What's that?
Punish them.
I root against the Bruins so hard. I've been at Bruins games with people. Jeff has seen it. My stoned ass sitting there when they start playing that song. Turn it over. Score. Go Hurricanes. Fuck all of this. And I know that sounds miserable.
It does.
But I am miserable when that is fucking happening because I love hockey and I love the game experience. I want everybody to be happy. Let's grow up a little.
This is also rehashing a kind of a discussion that we had earlier in the year when we said when Frankie Valli came on, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. Like that was an incredible fan experience because it felt different, it felt new, and you're like, oh shit, like this is something. Do this instead of Living on a Prayer, which feels like very tired and rerun. And somebody in the chat said I believe that they've been doing Living on a Prayer forever, which true. I think that's accurate.
So is every other
in
hockey.
But
No.
so is everywhere plays that fucking song.
I'll also tell you, I was at every Bruins game for like 8 years. They did not do a fucking Living on a Prayer sing-along until long after I left in like 2016.
As far as I can remember, they've been hammering that
I've
song
heard that in
basically every time.
at every sporting event I've ever been.
So maybe they've been playing the song at but they don't do the like
Sing-along.
drop
Doing it with
the
a
music
purpose.
out,
Yeah.
do the Sweet Caroline sing-along. That thing I think has started at longest within the last 5 years.
Well,
Also,
I was gonna, go ahead.
I was gonna say also Eileen, who is like my favorite Stars fan, said that All the Small Things was played well before 2022. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. But it became the Avalanche's thing when it was like the pillar of their Stanley Cup run, and I think And I got in a fight with like a lot of fans who were making that argument after 2022. Like, they don't get to claim it just because it was like part of their Stanley Cup run. I absolutely think they do.
Yeah.
Gloria became the Blues thing, and the Blues own Gloria now, because when you win a championship with a song being at the center of it, that's your song.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it works. That's the way that it works.
What I was going to say, like you mentioned the Frankie Valli thing, it's like you have to find the perfect song, because obviously part of this, it's like almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you have to find a song that everyone knows, and the songs that everyone knows are the songs that keep getting played over and over again. So you have to find a song.
But you know,
like,
I
songs
everybody knows.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to find a song like "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You."
Yeah.
That everyone knows, but is not the kind of song you would expect to hear at a hockey.
Okay, if the Bruins can force a Game 6, and I am now heavily rooting for that, we'll get in touch with the Bruins, see if we can get somebody on to at least hear our case and further this. Because if the Bruins make any sort of run, mark my words, it will be without living on a prayer. It will be, and I think we all agree, Can't Take My Eyes Off You is perfect and great. And when it happened against the Blue Jackets earlier in the season, when Brad Marchand scored the hat trick, boy, that was one of the most fun hockey moments I've seen in person this year. If the Bruins make a run, it will be without living on a prayer. Mark my words. Come on.
And the Bruins DJ was in our comments when we did the Can't Take My Eyes Off You segment, because that kind of blew up within Bruins Twitter. And the Bruins DJ was in there, and like he did like the eyes emoji, and nothing ever came of it. So the Bruins need a fucking spark right now. Who's to say that it can't be playing a song that is off the beaten path?
And you mentioned Gloria.
That was a rallying
We're talking
point.
about Can't Take My Eyes Off You. These are legendary songs that I think most people would know. You could still make it a very, very popular song. There's certain songs, though, that just fall into like super hyper elite sports cliches, whether it's Don't Stop Believin', Living on a Prayer. Crazy Train is in there. Like, it'd be weird if they did a fucking Crazy Train sing-along. But what do? They play Crazy Train at something like the beginning of a period for an appropriate amount of time. You hear the riff, you get the fuck out of there. That's all I ask with these super, super overdone ones, okay?
I do like the idea of Barbie Girl for pasta.
Bring it back. And that was that even now at this point is probably like 4 years old.
Yeah.
That is cooler and better than Living on a Prayer. It's just not good behavior. And Bruins, for as much shit as maybe we might give you from time to time, obviously Pete fucking loves you. I like everybody in that organization. Like, we're fucking pulling for you here. We say it out of love.
Yes, please.
Bad behavior.
Please.
All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. And again,
oh wait, before we get out of here, more super chats.
Yeah, the teams are. I mean, like, if you want your team to have some recognition, I guess you have to chat now. Eric said, "I'll do the Bruins' first period super chat," and then Stacy just said, "Play Wanted, Dead or Alive."
Oh,
like that's way better.
Awesome.
It is
like
definitely
you
better.
don't even have to go away from the artist. Just play a different fucking song.
So somebody tweeted at me like, "What if they did It's My Life?" That would be so fucking funny and weird and cool. Do you know It's My Life by Bon Jovi?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be who else is doing that?
I've
Bow.
I've brought this up before. Bon Jovi is basically banned from the city of Buffalo.
Persona non grata.
Yeah, he tried to buy the Buffalo Bills and move them to Toronto, and so everyone was like, they literally, like, bars took him out of their jukeboxes. He would get booed if he was played at public events. Like, I don't know if you hear his music as much anymore, especially since the two teams are owned by the guy he competed to buy the Bills with.
Okay, so here's what happens. You could stay in Bon Jovi if you want. Let's come up with a list of acceptable other Bon Jovi songs that we can submit to the Bruins at some point. Like, you want to do Wanted, Dead or Alive? Cool. It's My Life would be really funny. You know what? What if you fucking win a game? Who Says You Can't Go Home? Of a little fucking Sugarland collaboration that they did back in the day. There's so many things you could do.
Well, at this point in the playoffs, that wouldn't make any sense, because who Says You Can't Go Home?
You usually go
would
into
have
the other
to be
place.
played in Florida.
Yeah,
which, like, that'd be
it's
sick.
all right.
If there was like a coup and the Bruins DJ went to Florida, kicked the Florida DJ's ass, and then played Who Says You Can't Go Home after the Bruins win tonight.
I'm ready for DJ beefs in hockey.
Yeah,
just
I'm ready
start
for
their shit
DJ violence.
and just start play their songs.
DJ Violence would be a sick DJ name, by the way.
We could fucking hop on a plane, bring in a ghetto blaster. I don't know. Is that an acceptable term anymore? Is that a slur?
Seems like it has a little stink to it.
Okay.
Don't know what that's even referring to. So
Ghetto blaster is a like a portable boombox.
yeah, it's probably not.
That's probably not
okay.
great.
Yeah,
But imagine fucking Bruins win, and I'm just fucking on the glass holding, smashing a ghetto blaster against the guy. Who says you can't go? Who says you can't go home? There's only one place that call me one of their own. I'm just a small town boy.
The glass
Born
banger in
a
Dallas would be
Rolling
so much
Stone.
cooler if instead of the bang sign, he had a fucking boombox.
that's what they should do with mascots. Like, just start having them. Fuck
would be
that stupid little
incredible.
drum they all have. Just walk around blasting shit.
That would be so sick.
Dude, we need a team in Atlanta so bad. Like, if we just had like a mascot walking around with a boombox, they came out and they were playing like Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison. That wouldn't hit here. Not like it wouldn't.
What do you mean, Belle Biv
What the
DeVoe
fuck?
is
They're from here.
Bostonians?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
honestly.
oh yeah.
Where the fuck
they
you
played
think
at
Michael
the
Bivins is from?
they
dog?
played at the Winter Classic a couple years ago.
Wow.
Dude,
that
New
was the worst
Edition is
example I could-
doesn't
New
know
Edition
ball.
is from Boston.
I just don't know Boston.
Here's the thing:
I-
Boston doesn't fucking know that
That's
New
true.
Edition is from Boston, which is a little Boston-y.
I mean, while we're on the topic, the Love of Your Life sent us a super chat as well. Screw everyone. Go Habs. Go Slav better than Yuski.
Wow.
Hey, which is funny because I'm pretty sure.
Slavkovsky puns, you're the worst.
I'm pretty sure he was also mentioning that Slavkovsky has been bad at Worlds. Also, don't know if you saw it because I think it happened during the show.
Johnny Gaudreau
Gaudreau just
got absolutely
Yeah.
fucking pulverized.
R.I.P.
Nothing like going to the Worlds and being like, I'm gonna kick off my summer vacation by kicking some ass at Worlds and getting
thrown into
your
the corner.
bones absolutely fucking vaporized.
literally from the dot straight, like dummied into the corner. Also, I know
Tough scene for
about
Johnny
New Kids on the
Gaudreau.
Block. I grew up on New Kids on the Block. My mom was a huge New Kids on the Block fan.
Dude, Boston. I don't want to
Think
say
about
underrated
you in the
music.
summertime.
I don't want to
Oh.
say underrated music place, but like we
Under-
kind of got everybody. We got Donna Summer. We got New Kids on the Block. We got New Edition. So obviously we got Belle Biv DeVoe. We got the Pixies. Got Aerosmith.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, man. We got that Noah Kahan, who I still can't decide if he's interesting or not, but he at least likes hockey. So
He's
I'm
from
happy for him
Vermont,
there.
isn't
He's
he?
from Vermont, but he lives in Watertown.
Yeah, and he seems to be like adopting. I think he's like a Red Sox fan, and I think he's a fan of like New England sports. So we'll allow it.
I just want to hear the Bruins score and then just, you can't trust a big butt and a smile. That girl is poor.
Oh,
like, why not?
yes.
That'd be awesome.
Let's go. All right. We will see you on Wednesday tomorrow, which means you got to get up early because we are live at 11:59 a.m. as opposed to noon. You know why? So set your alarm clocks. We will see you tomorrow. We love you. Hopefully the Bruins aren't fucking assholes.
We all silly like the mayor.